Hello again and welcome to another army showcase video, this time for my Dogs of War army, part 2, namely my 6th edition Dogs of War collection. As some of you may know, that back in 6th edition, Dogs of War did not get a proper army book like most other armies did, but they got a White Dwarf list instead, which contained rules for both the regiments of renown as well as generic mercenaries, which allowed you to make a generic Dogs of War army with non-regiments of renown. So it contains stuff like regular pikemen, regular crossbowmen, regular cavalry, and stuff like that. And in the previous video, I showcased my collection of regiments of renown. So what I'm doing now is showcasing my collection of units from that 6th edition list. This is another 20% or so of my total Dogs of War army. So I painted about 45% of it in total now. So 55% still to go, which will be in part 3 and part 4 respectively. And most of the units in this collection are made by the Perry brothers, the Perry twins, Alan and Michael Perry, to be more precise. And they were also the sculptors of most of the regiments of renown from 5th edition. So I figured it was a pretty good choice to utilize them as much as possible in my generic mercenaries as well. And color scheme wise, I went with a dark red or burgundy and dark green, which is pretty similar to the color scheme used in the Dogs of War models by Games Workshop in 5th edition. And I also have a little bit of off-white as a tertiary color there to give it a little bit more pop. But yeah, let's start going through the units one by one. First up here, we have a unit of light cavalry, also known as Stradiots. These are Perry light cavalry from their War of the Roses range. The shields themselves are from Empire State Troops, the 7th edition ones, which I used a Dremel tool to file the icons off, so that they are, just plain shields. I have considered painting some basic patterns on the shields as well. Might go back and do that, haven't quite decided yet. Other than that, they are pretty straightforward with light armor and spears. And yeah, for those of you who might wonder, the banner is made from paper and I designed it mostly myself in Photoshop. Then here we have a unit of Maneaters. These are all the Games Workshop Maneater models. They had 6 different sculpts. Most of them are in metal. The female Maneater is in fine cast because I couldn't find a metal one at an affordable price. And the Araby one, as you can see in the corner, has a different base because he is usually a unit filler in my Araby army. But for the sake of this picture, I figured I would have him featured in the Dogs of War army as part of the unit. I also have a lot of other Maneaters coming up in a later video, both in my Dogs of War army as well as in unit fillers from other armies. So in total, I think I have about 14 Maneaters or something like that. So it's a big chunky unit when it's all said and done, which will be showcased later on. And here we have a Giant, the plastic Giant that came out in later 6th edition or early 7th edition. I also have the 6th edition Giant, which will be painted up later. This was a repaint. I painted this one originally back in, I think, 2009 when I first bought it. So he's a little bit cleaner now. I used a lot of dark washes on him before, but yeah, I kind of prefer the slightly cleaner look. Here we have a unit of mercenary ogres, or mercenary, ogre bulls, as they are otherwise known. These are the basic Games Workshop ogres with 2 hand weapons and full command. Nothing more fancy than that. Here we have some heavy cavalry, also known as freelancers. These are also Perry models. They are the mounted men-at-arms from the War of the Roses range. Shields are also from the Empire State Troops kit with the icons filed off, because the models don't come with shields originally. And like with the fast cavalry, it's a paper banner that I designed myself. And here we have some Halflings. These are from Black Tree Design or Harlequin. They're pretty small compared to many other Halfling manufacturers, but Halflings are supposed to be small, so I think that's fine. These ones should have a banner that I had forgotten to make. So when I printed them all out, that wasn't on it, and I didn't have access to a color printer, so I have been unable to stick the banner on. So it will be added later on, but we'll see when I'll get around to it. Now we have some Paymasters Bodyguard. These are also Perry miniatures. This is the Perry dismounted men-at-arms or foot knights from the War of the Roses range. The command models are mostly made up from Perry Mercenaries, the other plastic box set that he did, the command models, which had much more heavy armor. And the page chest in the middle is from Assassin's Creed Brotherhood of Rome, I think it was called, which was a Kickstarter that was on there a couple of years ago. I ended up keeping one page chest and one Ezio model and selling the rest because I didn't really need them or have the space for them. So a lot of hassle for just one small chest there, I guess, but it looks pretty good, so I'm happy with it. Now we have some pikemen, 40 of them to be precise. This is also from Perry Miniatures, the Mercenaries kit. Some of them have bucklers, which is not completely correct because they can't really take bucklers. And I've tried to remove some of them, but because they're glued on with plastic glue, they're kind of melded on there. So I just kind of have to live with it. It does give me a little bit more variety in their looks though, I suppose. These ones don't really have much white on them. It's mostly just, burgundy red and green, but they were painted a lot darker when I first bought them back in 2012. So recently repainted them completely. So they look quite a bit better now. The command group is also from Perry Miniatures, but this is the Swiss command. I have their Italian command as well, but I use that for other units. So the Swiss will go in this unit. And the guy with the weird looking glaive thing there is from the assault group, which was also part of one of their command groups. And I had a spare model there, so I figured I would put him into this unit to make it a nice even number of 40. This here is a unit of mercenary dwarves from Black Tree Design / Harlequin Miniatures. These are very old school dwarves. I believe they were sculpted in the early 90s. And I think that they are meant to be equivalents to the Games Workshop dwarves from about 3rd edition. Armor-wise, they are mostly dressed in Bretonnian-looking medieval-style armor, except for the command group, which has more imperial-looking armor, so it's a little bit inconsistent there. But they are very charming old-school sculpts, very much like the old Games Workshop models in that regard. So they are not technically the best, but they make up for a lot of charm, even if they are a little bit hard to rank up at times. And here we have my Halfling Hot Pot. This is the Games Workshop model from 93 or so, which was part of the Empire range originally. Bought this one back in 2010, I think, when Games Workshop still sold it in metal. And I painted this one with yellow and green, much like the colors of Mootland itself. Here we have unit of duelists. These ones are one of the harder units to find good models for, in my opinion, at least when it comes to models that look consistent in a unit. These ones are Khador Kayasi Assassins from Warmachine. I think these work pretty well because they all have, capes and daggers and swords, which is what you would be looking for in a duelist type unit, similar to Vesperos Vendetta. The sculpts themselves are not the best by today's standards, and they have some real mold line problems that are very apparent when you look up close, but they still fit the bill pretty well. So, and here we have a unit of crossbowmen, which are having some issues staying in their movement tray. These are from Perry Miniatures. They're part of the Mercenaries box, pikemen and crossbowmen. I could have built half of these with handguns, and I probably should have in hindsight, but crossbows are the more iconic Italian option, so that's what I went with. And I also gave them pavises, which was not an option in 6th edition. It is part of the Warhammer Armies Project rules, though, which is why I gave them Pegasus in this situation. I do have more crossbowmen coming up later on in part 3, which do not have Pegasus though. But seeing as the models themselves came with it, I figured I should make some use for them. Here we have a mercenary cannon, which is a smaller version compared to the Empire Great Cannon. This one is from Venexia Miniatures. I have another 2 cannons from Perry Miniatures, which are technically better sculpts, but I felt that this one looks a little bit more Italian looking, so that's why I went with this one for this first video, since most of my army is Chilean based. The other cannons will be painted to look like Chileans though, so they will still fit the build pretty well, but I just wanted to paint one cannon here. I'm going to paint the 2 Perry ones together, so they will be a later project. Now we have wizards, 8 of them to be precise, 1 for each lore of magic. These are Frostgrave wizards. There is a sprue of male and 1 of female wizards, so 8 in total. And this is a really superfluous purchase because I already had about 20 wizards in metal since before, but I figured these ones look to be really fun to kit bash together, something unique, and give them different types of magic items, such as you have tomes and gems and staffs and wands and shrine stones and all matter of stuff. So it was a fun little kit bash and a pretty quick paint job on top of that. And here we have the Paymaster and Moneylender. These are from Grimforge Miniatures, and they are very closely based on the 5th edition artwork, which made them a must-have in my book. Really charming sculpts in resin. And here we have my mercenary captains. These are all from Perry Miniatures, the European armies range. They are supposed to be representing famous condottieri commanders of the time period. And I didn't really need to have 3 of them, but they come free in a pack and they are pretty cheap. So I decided to just paint them all up and post them for this video. And lastly, we have a bunch of mercenary captains. These are all built from Perry Miniatures command models, essentially. 2 of them are from their War of the Roses Billman and Bowman box. I bought a separate sprue just with the 2 command models. And the rest are from the Perry Mercenaries box. I felt that the command models are a little bit too heavily armored to really fit for my pikemen, but they would make for some really good mercenary captains instead. So I decided to kit bash them with a bunch of different weapons that I had available, such as you have a polearm, great weapon, great weapon, great weapon, great weapon, 2 hand weapons, polearm, 2 hand weapons, and hand weapon and buckler. So yeah, fun little kit bash and a real fun, quick little paint job. And that's the whole army. Well, that's the whole part of this army. As I mentioned, this is just 20% of the total Dogs of War army. The next Dogs of War part is going to be me painting up the remainder of my Chileans, which will be in a later video at some point. Not sure when. I'm not painting Chileans right now. I'm taking a little break from that and painting more Bretonians instead. So next video, I'm expecting to be posting my 5th and 3rd edition Bretonians, which will be out in, I don't know, maybe 2 months or so. We'll see. I'm trying to take a little bit of a painting break as well, because I need to catch up on my video game collection and also do some more work on the Armies Project books. So I'm aiming for about 2 months, but it might be free. We'll see. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little video, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.